Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope all is well. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. So I had to redo this video because I did it yesterday for a whole hour and I had no sound on my mic. I'm literally checking right now to make sure before I get started. All right, so early morning, y'all know how it is, frog in my throat, but we got to get this going. So let's get through our economic data. So far, on Monday, first of all next week, the feds are outside. They're going to be speaking all next week. It's I'm not sure why, but yeah, that's what's going on. So starting on Monday, you got your Fed Cook speech. And then we'll see those like throughout the day all next week. So like for instance, Tuesday morning, we do have imports and exports, but then more Fed speaking. Okay, Fed speaking. It's a lot. Now, y'all know that that's not going to really affect the markets, but it's something that we want to learn or we want to know. Why he's speaking at 6:15 in the morning, oh my goodness, I'm not sure why. But on Wednesday, then we have these mortgage data, and then Powell speaks. Now, Powell speaks on Wednesday and Thursday. We've already had FOMC. So the only thing I can think of that he's going to do here is probably go over what he did before. Because otherwise, like, I don't know what this is for. Then you have more Fed speakers. Then on Thursday, we have our normal jobs data. And then Powell speaks again at 3 o'clock. Like, and I believe the last time we waited on that, it was just like a random speech like this. Nothing happened. He didn't do anything because all he did was read over what he did before. But now we have 2 days of this, so not quite sure. Friday, you have your another speech, and then we have Michigan consumer sentiment, and then that's it. So that's what we are expecting for Friday. All right, so we have now a new month. We have a new 2-week bar that is starting. We will fully uncouple by Tuesday because we have our new quarter that has started. We have our new month that has started. So we will have our new week and our new hourly by Tuesday, and we can fully uncouple and see where we are at. Now, you know that we started the quarter red, and then we have just recently flipped green. And then there are a lot of, you'll see the patterns where there are a lot of monthlies that are looking like they're ready to go. They can flip the month green, and then there are some outside quarters where they actually hit the quarterly target to the downside and reversing. So let's get into that and see what we see. All right, so looking at the VIX here, on the monthly, it has triggered the monthly to the downside. So we're looking to see it get down to this 1278, which we see before has been a really strong, solid support. If it breaks through that, my next level would be this, would be 12, but that's a level that it has bounced from several times. Oh, excuse me. 2-week, you have a 3-2 here. I said I was gonna do this because I don't have the 4-layer plan, y'all, right now. So we're just gonna flip back and forth with this, with your weekly and your daily. So we had the monthly, the 2-week, the week, the daily. On the week here, you see, a huge 2 down, which correlated with all of the green that we saw in the market. All right, so it just gave all of this back. It struggled to get up there, wicked above the 200, gave it all back, and now we're back below the 200, so it's back bearish. All right. Again, I said that I would add gold to this because we have not, it is a commodity. And as far as futures, when I look at NASDAQ, Dow, IWM, QQQ, and SPY, those are the major futures. When you look at ZOM or oil, XOP, excuse me, that's your crude oil. but we don't look at gold. So looking at gold, it had a nice recovery on the month. All right. 2 up on a 2 week. There's no actionable signal here. But what we're looking at is if it was to retrace, about 1910 is what we're going to look at. If it does a 212 back to the downside, okay. On the daily, you do have a possible rev strat here. And I wanted to note that it is wedging. So it's wedging. This is a possible bull flag here. However, it's also a possible head and shoulders. This right shoulder came up a little high, but if it cannot break above this downtrend right here, this head and shoulders will be intact and it should be coming down. Alrighty, DXY has triggered the monthly to the downside. Now remember, when we were watching it on the weekly, we were saying this is done. It's just been going straight up. It needed some rest. So it hit the top of the broadening formation almost perfectly, rested, and reversed. All right, so if you have a signal here, say 3-2 down on the dollar, looking for at least half of this move at, 103.46. I'm gonna have to find a way to stop yawning, but there's no way that I can do that and do these in the morning, like early in the morning when I have to. So sorry, y'all. Okay, so that is DXY. Looking at the NASDAQ. So this is what I meant. There's a couple of things here that we're going to look at. NASDAQ and the Qs are similar in this respect. All right, so we're back above the quarter and the month open. We are close to triggering the monthly 2 up. Okay, so 15,336 is what we would be looking at here. Your 2-week bar has a nice, it's not a hammer, but a nice green 2 down for the 2 down, 2 up reversal. However, your weekly, you will see that we have hit a couple of things. We've hit the 50% retracement and the top of the downward trend line. So I think that we're at a critical moment here. We could still push more. We can push to the 61.8. And then I think if we push past there and hold, that's when we may continue. But keeping in mind this downtrend line and knowing that, yeah, you can come above it and come right back down. But keep in mind this downtrend line. If we do reverse, these gaps will be your first targets to the downside, okay? Otherwise, it probably would just come back in this entire, this is a big green. So, I mean, if anything, we could even get an inside week from here. But looking to see if they push. And if they do push, then it could push to trigger that monthly. All right. The Dow, similar. Even closer to triggering that monthly to the upside, 341.71. On your 2-week, you had a possible 3-2 up. However, on your weekly, you know that you are also cautious of this downward trend line. Okay, really cautious of that because we know that it can reject there. We are right at the 50% level on this weekly move down. So really need to look and see or wait and see if it can push past here, because we know 50% is a level with that they can the bears can step back in. If not, then we can assume for it to continue. Not quite an outside bar, but same concept. All right, we've recovered the 200 just barely. Okay, EMAs are starting to turn up. So any downside targets will first, again, be these gaps to the downside. Upside, we will be looking to see if it can break that monthly over here. All right, IWM, similar to the Dow. This is still a range, so it looks like it's trying to come back into the range, close to triggering the 2 up on the month. Not a strong signal here on the 2-week. And a little bit different here in the sense of we were in uptrend. I know I had that wrong. I think I removed the uptrend. The uptrend was there. And it died. This is actually just the small broad information, but the uptrend was here and it fell through, and now it's coming back up. And so this still has room. That's the difference between this one and the previous ones, is this hasn't reached 50% yet. So we can still get to at least this 180 if it wants to try for it. And it might want to come to this 200 on the daily, which is 180. All right. So that's what we're going to be watching for to see if it does. Of course, to the downside, you have gaps here that need to fill. So those are going to be your first targets. Let's get on to the Qs. So similar. All right. Hopefully y'all are noticing the pattern here is that a lot of these are inside month, but they're close to triggering the monthly to up to the upside. You have a long lower shadow on your 2-week bar. So you have your 2-week that can trigger your monthly. That's what we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be cautious about this downtrend line that we have and seeing if we can make it right there, knowing also that we are at the 50% level. I believe that if the bears need to step in, that this is the area that they want to do it. They could let us go a little bit more before stepping in, or they could just be done and they have been completely squeezed out with this right here. Okay. We did do the 2 down, 2 up last week and didn't quite hit the target. So interesting to see what happens next week. Again, downside targets, you're going to at least first go for these gaps here. Okay. But the Qs as well are well above their 200. Came down here and bounced and left it. Okay. So keeping that in mind, we're looking pretty bullish if we can make it past this trend line here. That will be my do or die point. Okay. Getting on to SPY Bay, again looking exactly the same. On your 2-week, you have your long lower wick here, your possible 2 down, green 2 up that can trigger your monthly. 438 is going to be a really strong level for SPY. That is the monthly 2 up, and then after that 440. Okay, so 440 is going to really be a strong level. That's at the top of our broadening formation. That's the top of this trend line here. That's where we intersect. Like that's the level right there to beat. Okay, so we can definitely do that. If we are going to come down to the downside, of course, I would target these gaps first. 430, of course, the 200 here at 425, and then this gap fill 423. Okay, but we're back above our 200 on the daily, and our EMAs are turning up. So you know what that means for me. For me, I'm bullish when we are above the 200 on the daily. Okay, so now we have fought here. A couple things I want you to notice. We have fought here. We washed below, came back above, washed below. Basically more TTR, broadening this broadening formation right here. Okay, so you have it here. It broadens to the downside. Now it may want to broaden to the upside. Okay, but we just need to see if it wants to keep going. If not, it may definitely come back down. So be prepared either way for that, guys. Okay. Going to Apple. Apple had earnings last week and they basically held it up. So it's a little bit further from its monthly 2 up, but the monthly 2 up would be at 182.64. So you do have a 2-week here, 2 down, 2 up. I don't know why. I wish I could take this off I keep it off the monthly, but I can't keep it off the 2-week. I guess because it has week in there. But hopefully you should be able to see this. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this. No, I can't do that here. I wish I could take it off the 2-week, but I can't. So anyway, here on the 2-week, you have a 2 down, 2 up. Okay, so if it takes it to magnitude, that'll be that 182. If it wants to continue, then it will trigger the monthly to the upside. So that's what we're going to be looking for, y'all. Okay. with Apple. On the weekly, again, all of these have this downtrend line. So remember this, okay? This is what I want y'all to remember. We did this, and then we did this. And we were so, oh my God, this was such a strong move. Apple moved $10, yada, yada, yada. The next week, it gave it all back plus more. Okay? So keep that in mind. You know, Apple didn't move. Well, it did move $10. There's no way to say, no reason to say that we couldn't outside week next week and give it all back. All right, and of course that will put us back over here to our 200. But yeah, keep that in mind, especially if this is a head. You see this head here? So you got a shoulder, you got a head. Your shoulder will come all the way up to 180, possibly 182, which is that 50% level. So I want y'all to really keep that in mind. We look bullish. We had a strong bullish week, but we are still below our downward trend. We haven't made a higher high. Okay, so even with all of that, we have not made a higher high. We can still fall. So be cautious and let the charts tell you what we're going to do. Okay. Looking at Microsoft is the one that is different out of all of them. Microsoft could be the one that carries the market. Okay. There's no actionable signal here, but it's already triggered up on the monthly, and it's basically our next target is going to be 366 if it's going to continue. All right, no actionable signal here on the 2-week either. On the weekly, it's not in that downtrend. In fact, it has a W going on here, which would lead me to think that it would continue to go to the upside way above our 200. Like Microsoft didn't even stop it and touch it. Inverted head and shoulders, and boom. All right, so that's the thing that has me thinking that we could be bullish because Microsoft could try to carry this market. And Apple too, if Apple doesn't die. But Microsoft is not one of the ones that has that downtrend line. In fact, we have this uptrend line here that we've been holding on to. Alrighty, so again, getting into our sectors. You got XLY, and again, this is looking like the rest of them. You got your monthly 2 up here. So you got your 3, 2 down, 2 up that could trigger to the upside, which could trigger the monthly to the upside. Okay. Did not draw the downtrend lines on here, but as you can see, well, no, this is kind of far from it. So this has room to still go to the upside. All right, on the daily, we recovered the 200. If any downside targets will definitely be these gaps. There's a lot of gaps on these charts, y'all. So that's what I would be looking for first to the downside, is to fill those unfulfilled gaps. Alrighty, XLK, again, close to triggering this 2 up. So technology, all right, you have almost a morning star here. And then now we're about to trigger that up. So watching to see if it can break through this downward trend line and trigger the monthly to the upside, okay? Well above our 200. Any downside targets are going to be your gaps. XLF, your bank financials look good to the upside, really close to triggering the 2 up. However, we are still kind of in a range here, but that I wanted to point out. You see my, I don't know what it is, rhomboid, but whatever, I don't know. I didn't do good in geometry. But whatever shape this is, you see that we're kind of wedging here. All right, so we can 2 up to the upside, but that 34 may be strong before it gets to that actual strat target. But you have a 3, 2 up on the 2-week that can trigger your monthly chart there. And then on the weekly, you see the downtrend. Okay, this is what was kind of saying it's flagging. Y'all know I like the flags for the breakouts, so we're going to keep watching that, okay? We want to see this continue to the upside, because if this stays inside, if it does, because this did do a double three. So because of these strong moves, it may need to rest a week. You really only want to touch it if it does a 3-2 up. If it stays inside, leave it alone. And it could do that because it could come back into this range to fill these gaps. Okay, if it rejects this 200. Consequently, it does have a gap up here to the upside to fill. So watch your favorite financial. They could move either direction. All right. XLC. XLC, you have a beautiful hammer here on the 2-week that could trigger the 3-2 up on the month. All right, now this is kind of meta. You'll see it has this type of setup. We can get above the 68.90, then we can go at least to the top of this broadening formation. Okay, so your hammer here on the 2-week could trigger your monthly up. If it can come through this range, you do have an inside week. I don't really like this inside week though, because it doesn't really leave much target left there. But we know that inside week could trigger the 2-week, which could trigger the monthly. So things we will keep in mind. We are very far away from, not very far away, far enough away from our 200. Any downside targets are first going to be those gaps as usual. Okay. XLE. Inside month, not doing anything, no actionable signal here on the 2-week or on the weekly, unless it does want to do a 2 down, 2 up. It's not really a strong actionable signal, but it is a strat play. And then on the daily, we're hanging out around the 200, almost making a head and shoulders. So energy is looking pretty bearish. XLU utilities are one of the few that have already triggered the monthly to the upside. Beautiful hammer that is in force now. Magnitude for that is going to be 65.59. So with your utilities, they have already triggered the monthly to the upside. If you want to get in, you should probably wait to find you set up on like the daily to take it back into that time frame continuity, which you might get here because we do have this 2 up red. So if it did the 2 down, to at least come down and test these, you might get your move like that to be able to take it back into time frame continuity and take that play. Alrighty, XLI industrials. Looks like the rest of them were a little bit, well, no, it's only $2 away, so close to triggering the monthly up. This 3-2 down, 2 up to the target. If it continues past that, could trigger the monthly to the upside. All right, so that's XLI. No weekly actionable signal here. On the daily, you do have a beautiful rejection here at the 200 and the 50 and a gravestone doji / shooter. So this is actually on my list of plays for possibly Monday and Tuesday, or even Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because this is printing a sign that we would come back to at least fill this gap here at 185 and maybe even try for this gap. Why? Because we know XLI rejected the 200. Hopefully y'all see the difference between this and the other ones that we were looking at. A lot of them bounced off of it and zoomed. Even SPY flushed and recovered. Here we rejected here again. So if it does a 2 up, 2 down, then I will be looking at this for a possible play. All right, XLV healthcare. Wait, why is this all on? Hold on, y'all. Okay. XLV healthcare. Not close to triggering the 2 up. Okay, but could. But still not close enough for me to think that it's going to do much. You do have somewhat of a hammer here. Well, that's actually a beautiful hammer. So if anything, if this hammer can go in force and the bulls can take control above 128, then we may be able to go for the monthly trigger. So you can see here that it's gone 50%. If it can finish and then it keeps going, then it could trigger the monthly to the upside. Okay, so it's right at 50% of a retracement. So it could also be rejected from here and go right back down, because look, we are below our 200. We came up to these EMAs and printed almost a shooter. So this may be like XLI, to where you can do the 2 up, 2 down reversal play. XLP consumer staples triggered the monthly up but came back in but closed above it, so it's still good as far as being monthly in force. This hammer is in force so far, so your consumer staples are looking good. No actionable signal here on the 2-week or on the weekly. And then on the daily, kind of like the last two, you have a shooter here that has printed, so we may come back for a retracement and then continue going, or that could have been it, since we are well below our 200 here. Okay, it hasn't tested the 200 since August. However, this could be where it tries to go. You know, it could be doing this monthly 2 up just to try to get at least to 71.29 maybe, which would put it close to the 200. It's a teeny tiny gap here, 72 if it wants to go for that. All right, real estate. Real estate has triggered the monthly to the upside and closed above it. You have a 3-2 here. However, it is, not sure why this is here. It's supposed to be a weekly, I bet. So the 3-2 up could take us to the target for the monthly there, and it has already triggered there, so it's already in force. On the weekly, you do not have an actionable signal there. I believe this is supposed to be yellow for my weekly. Yeah, because you got your almost double inside week there. Double outside week there. So 3-2 up could trigger that 2-week. That could trigger that monthly. We do have a shooter on the day though, and a couple of gaps. So those are what I would be aware of. And of course, my final target at the most would be this 200 up here, 36.37. XLB is materials. No real actionable signal here. However, we are about to trigger the monthly to the upside like the rest of them. Hopefully y'all are seeing this pattern here. A lot of them are about to trigger their monthlies, so that's what we want to look for. Are the bulls going to keep this going with the strength, or are the bears going to step back in and short it right back down like they did in the past? XLP oil and gas inside month doing absolutely nothing. That is not a play. It's not close to taking out either side of these. The 2-week, you do have a somewhat hammer here. So if anything, you may have a play here if it can break above 150 and take it to the upside. It's not much of a range there. But then if it does keep going, it can trigger this 2 up. All right. So again, not a whole lot is stuck in this range. So we really would like to see a break above 150 or below 142 and hold. Hold. All right, XRT. This is not doing anything down here. It's just down here, just sitting. But it has triggered the monthly up. 2-week, you have a 3-2 up possible that will keep the monthly going and in force. And then on the weekly, you have a 3-2 if it keeps going. I only like when threes do a 3-2, because a 3-1 I don't like. This is already a broad information. It's already a new level of supply and resistance, and what we don't want is to have them stay stuck inside. You want them to continue whatever strength they're showing there. Alrighty. Jets has been beat down. Okay, so another one where it's doing that. Beat down. It gave all of this back. But then it almost, this is not a double bottom. It actually did a TTL here. Okay. So the last time that it came here, it recovered. We know that it's about to be holiday travel season again. So really interesting to see if Jets can find some type of support here and recover. If so, you have this 2 down, 2 up that could take it up to the target and then at least possibly trigger this monthly to the upside and have some type of recovery on Jets and your airlines. If you look at BA, it kind of looks similar, but look at this. I mean, that's crazy. I'm actually a little bit upset I missed this. But out of this move, 50% of this move is 1860. So that's what I'm looking for them to try to get to at least 1860. If so, it could flip the quarter green. But we do know that we are bearish. So, if we can just get some type of recovery before they continue shorting, maybe we can get to 1860 by January. Yep. And then they'll die again while it waits for the summer. Lithium and battery. So you have a 2 down green after these 3. So if the only thing I would be looking for here is possibly to see if it continues and does an outside month. You do have a 2 down green on the 2 week that could trigger that and take that up. So if it goes above 50.14, your 50% trigger level is going to be 50.22. That's not that far. And then you could take it up to that 54.98. All right. You do have a somewhat hammer here that could take that up. Y'all know we like those one trigger the other things. SMH, you got your chips here. Not too close to triggering the, well, actually it is. It's about $6 away. So your 2 week here, if it can make it through that trend line, can trigger it up to the monthly, which is 154. That's going to be your monthly 2 up. Looking to see it break that. So you can 3-2 up on the week. If it can break through this downtrend line, then we can see it go towards those monthlies. Downside targets, of course, are going to be this gap, these gaps, and then down to the month open, which is also the 200. That's so interesting. Okay, so I'll sell off of that. IYT, transportation. Remember I was saying I like the hammer on transportation. This is one of my favorites as far as out of the 2 week plays. So you got your 3-2 down. Your 3-2 down, 2 up would then trigger your quarter green. Okay. And then if we can hit the magnitude of that, the 236.54, if it continues, it will trigger your monthly to the upside. All right, so watch IYT for that. We do know that we are still under the 200, so we're somewhat bearish. Downside targets, of course, will be these gaps. But I'm looking to get it to come up here at least to this, the 200 with the strength that they picked it up. Last and definitely least, because China. But every time I do China, I have to do this on the monthly chart. I mean, I have to blow it up because it's at the bottom of the bottom and it's not doing much. Inside month right here, we do know here that we have at least made a higher low. Okay, so if it breaks through here, then it's not much we can do. All right, so it's kind of bear flagging and looking like it will. So will the bulls step in? We don't know. You do have a 2 week 3-2 down, 2 up here if it wants to go, and then no actionable signal here, and we're I mean the 200's all the way down there, so we know that we're bearish here, full of gaps. But that's yen for you. All right, so those are your sectors. Now, let us check through what I wanted to show you guys was our 50% moves. So you got CVS that has triggered and is enforced. So your target's going to be 73.34 there. I like CVS because you do have this 2-week that could trigger that to keep it going. CLX is another one that has triggered. So 132.19 is going to be your trigger here. If we can do a 3-2 up, that can help us do that. The 3 means the bulls to control here. So 3-2 up for CLX. And then I wanted to show you guys a few outside quarters, okay? So let's change this over here so y'all can just see this here. So you have your monthly that has now triggered your outside quarter. So Amazon is one at 134. We can continue. Netflix is another one that has triggered the outside month off of triggering, the outside quarter off of triggering the monthly. And then XLK is another one that has triggered the outside quarter. So if it can, this monthly 2 down, 2 up will help to finish this outside quarter for another $10 run. So I want y'all to watch out for that, okay? Now, and then XLC is another one. We talked about XLC though, right? And how I said like it reminds me of this setup looks like Meta. You kind of have your wedge here, sort of, kind of. If it can break past that 68.81, it's gone. Okay, so that's really a good level there. Ones that have not triggered yet but are close are the Qs. So if the bulls keep control, if we break past that downward trend line, we can trigger this outside quarter. All right. SPY is another one. 440 is why that level is so important. It's also the outside quarter trigger. Apple is another one that at 182 will trigger. Nvidia will trigger at 452. SMH at 150.46. And then XLF will trigger at 34.33. Okay. XLF is, I'm not quite sure it would finish. The range is small enough for it to do it. But one thing to keep in mind is that it did trigger the STRAT and it didn't quite finish that to the downside and it came back up. So these are ones that, even though these have triggered outside quarters, y'all know what I say about the outside. It's triggered the outside quarter, but that's also a place where bears can short at, which coincides in my opinion, because if you look at it, let's go over here. Let's go to SPY. No, let's go to the Qs. Let's go to Amazon actually, because Amazon is the one. This is on my daily. That shouldn't be on there. No, not Amazon. Let's just go back to the Qs. So the Qs, again, we know this is at this downtrend line, okay? We know that this is 50% of this weekly move. So it's 50% of the weekly move, and it's the quarter. It's the outside quarter trigger, y'all. So knowing that that's a place that the bears can short at, I really want y'all to be careful. Okay, just be careful because, I don't want y'all thinking, yeah, we about to finish, go outside quarter, and then we sell off. So just be careful. But be ready, because you also don't want to miss it. Another one that has already triggered the monthly to the upside and could possibly trigger outside quarter is XLU. Okay, so we'll be looking for that at 63.90. All right, your 2-week setups. I'm not gonna go through all of these because y'all, it's 16 of them. But I'm just gonna, my favorites are JPM. Oh, let's go back to this because I like that. Morningstar Doji. It's possibly the Morningstar, but also it's not quite a hammer, but we're looking for that 2 down, 2 up. Okay, so I like that 2-week. I already told y'all about IYT, which is going to be your transportation. So DAL, UAL, eBay, Uber are going to have your setups for the 2 week. You got FedEx, Tesla, Apple. Y'all saw some of these as I was going through them. Excelsior, Nvidia, ZS, Cost, AMD is another one because it has triggered the monthly to the upside, and it has room. We can still see it. The next target will be 119. So this 3-2 up on the 2 week could take us to that next monthly target. All right. Loving CVS is finally ready to break out. And then I told y'all about Meta with this, that should be with that IYT. Oh no, I think it's XLC. And this hammer. So that recovery of that trend line, and it may possibly go. Alrighty, and then I believe this, we went through that. We went through that, yep. We did our sectors. The monthly, I do have some monthlies here that y'all could write down because I'm not gonna go through them. But this is already in force. But these are things that I looked at and I liked. All right, KO, especially if it can come up at least through here. Already talked about Amazon with the outside quarter. XLP looks good. Outside month for CVS. And possible stars here. XLK, I told y'all about that. McDonald's with the Morning Star. Told y'all about the reversal on airlines and transportation. This is financials, AMD, and XLB. Alrighty, and then last but not least, just a few little bits I wanted to do on the weekly list. Let's go over here for that. We did talk about CLX because I believe for the outside month. I'll be forgetting. But you do have your inside day here. If it can break to the upside, that's what we want. That's a little bit of a shooter here, so we don't. But you can play this either way. There's a gap down here to the downside if it wants to come down. And then there's a gap here to the upside. So if we can do a 3-2 up, that's what I would prefer. That would get us to that outside month, and that would help us fill this gap. Otherwise, if we do a 2-1-2 down on the day and come into this gap, it's only going to bring this down, and it's not going to finish the outside bar. But we also know, again, this could be a place to short. So that's going to be your strong level. If they come back and they short it back down, then it's going to take away this setup here. Okay. So that's what we're looking for. eBay had the 2 week setup that I like. So if it can 2-1-2 up on the weekly to trigger the 2 week, that will help. CBS, we talked about that outside month. So you have your 3-2 up possible that can help you finish that outside month. Google has an inside week and a huge gap to fill. So looking to see, it may need some time. Even though it's an inside week, I might give that to like the following week to fill that gap if we're going to stay bullish. Okay. Snow inside week. Snow has been really beaten down, but if it can start having some type of recovery, at least come up here to this 200, I like that. And then Johnson & Johnson. Now, this is a couple of things. It's an inside week, but we do have a possible evening star here. So that could be either way play. Yeah, and y'all know Johnson & Johnson is cheap. So if it wants to come down here to this 147.54, I would love to catch that. Otherwise, if you want to push up and 2-1-2 up, then I would love to catch that as well. Alrighty, I think that is it. I went over everything. Y'all know I had to re-record this because I did it yesterday with no sound. So as always, if y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comments. Please don't forget to like the video. It helps me out a lot. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of week. Happy trading. Bye, y'all.